So the focus of this session is really on adapting to change. So like everything else, national research facilities have to adapt to changes in the environment in which they operate. And these changes can be incremental, or as the pandemic has shown us, they can be sudden and transformative. So I will switch control over to you, Naveed, and we will let you wanted to share your own slides.
Yeah,
So
I'm fine either way, Mark, but yeah, if you can do that, that's fine. And if Alex wants to share, she has my presentation, that's fine too. Either works.
All right. So Alex, do you want to share Naveed's slides then? And
I did give you ability to share, Naveed, if you prefer, but I have no problem sharing your slides as well.
Well, okay, let me do that then. I'll do that. Okay, let's see if that works. Okay, hopefully you can see my presentation now.
Yeah, I do see it.
Do presentation mode. Okay, all good. Okay, let me move this. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks, Mark. Thank you. I should start by thanking the CFI team for organizing this this virtual MSI workshop. We've had the workshop face-to-face in the past, and has been a lot of learning and fun. But I guess this year this will have to do. But next year, hopefully, we will, or soon we will be able to go back to face-to-face. So I was asked to talk a little bit about the role CGEN has played in our collective response to the current pandemic, as the session title suggests. But I think before that, I would like to give you a snapshot of CGEN. So as some of you already know, that CGEN's Canada's national platform for genome sequencing and analysis, with nodes in Toronto at Sick Kids Hospital, Montreal at McGill, and in Vancouver at the BC Cancer Agency, University of British Columbia. CGEN's vision is to serve as Canada's engine for genomics-enabled research and discovery. And we do that by producing and bringing access to a critical mass of genomic data, and by building and operating a genomics technology platform that enhances Canada's capacity for genome sequencing and analysis. One of our, as you can see on the slide here, one of our major, on the top right-hand side, one of the major priority for us is to enable large-scale human genome sequencing data generation. And that will become clear in a few slides why I specifically pointed that out. So we have just over 200 staff across the 3 nodes that serve around 2,000 PIs every year. Remember that each PI lab has multiple researchers and multiple expertise and multiple projects. We generate around 1,600 terabytes of sequencing data, which equates to around 15,000 30x human genomes. And for the non-biologists in the virtual room, this equates to around 800,000 HD movies on Netflix. And if you are willing to sit and watch them back to back, it will take you about 140 years to finish them all. So just to give you a scale of the data that we produce every year. And also annually, we invoice around $40 million in fee for service to our users across Canada. With that, I think I would like now to talk a little bit about the role we have played in supporting Canada's national response and the fight against COVID-19 through a specific effort funded by the federal government. So back in April 2000, the government of Canada funded the CanCOGEN Consortium through Genome Canada, which included genome sequencing of 150,000 SARS-CoV viral genomes. But also relevant to CGEN, the federal investment included a $20 million support for CGEN to lead a project to sequence 10,000 human genomes, a project that we dubbed HostSeq. So by that way, HostSeq and CGEN's mandate was to sequence and data bank genomes of 10,000 Canadians affected by COVID-19 and help investigate genetic variations that impact disease outcomes. We do that by putting data into the hands of people who will be able to ask the appropriate scientific questions and will lead to providing genetic evidence to support therapy and vaccine development. So hopefully we can help Oker's shop as well. So I put this slide up just to show the timeline of how quickly, as relevant to today's discussion, so how quickly we were able to assemble and deploy our efforts. This was mainly due to CGEN's vision and mission to remain in a ready state. to support Canadian researchers and to take maximum advantage of the power and promise of genomic sciences. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next few slides. But here you can see that the funding announcement was made on April 24th. And by early June, which is within 2 months, we were ready to start sequencing any patient that were recruited into the program. Now we were able to assemble an outstanding team to deliver the project, and I'm not showing the structure of the governance of the team because of the time I was allocated today. But we were by June we were ready to sequence, which is within 2 months. We were able to assemble or put in place national consents. We were able to put in place appropriate protocols and also articulate a data governance structure for the project. Now, for those of you who are aware of the challenges of planning and delivering a population-wide large cohort study, genomics or otherwise, for that matter, would appreciate that this timeline was highly efficient and not something that can be achieved easily. So why were we able to do that? I'll talk about that in a second. But before I move on to talking about that, I would also like to highlight that CGEN has also been involved in several other activities to help partners and researchers across Canada in responding to the pandemic. For example, the CGEN Montreal node at McGill has been working closely with the provincial health authorities to sequence a large number of Quebec's viral genomes. We have to date sequenced over 15,000 viral genomes and have helped in coordinating the genomics and clinical data within the province of Quebec. Other examples include CGN assisting investigators across the country to access COVID-19 research funding, help with setup and management of the provincial COVID-19 biobanks in Quebec, in Ontario, and in British Columbia. Also in BC, CGEN is assisting the BC CDC in developing appropriate protocols and implementing of automated high throughput sequence testing. So some examples outside the host-seq, how we've been involved in our response to COVID-19. Now going back to host-seq, how are we able to help in a national response to COVID-19? Well, the most important point to note here is the ability of CGEN to recognize the value of operating in a ready state. And that including internally, if you look internally, the fact that CGEN's infrastructure was already installed and tested for fit. We had the financial stability as a CFI MSI that allowed us to pivot in response to the pandemic. Backed by our track record of success that allowed for trust and additional support from the federal government in the form of the host-seq project. And our distributed model, so as I said, we had 3 nodes across the country, allowed us to manage the changing environment locally while still operating as a national facility. So luckily, Walker talked a little about those challenges, but luckily all of our nodes were deemed as essential services at the provincial level, which allowed us to continue to remain open. But we had challenges in interacting with the PI labs. Many of the PI labs themselves were closed. And also our ability to work at full capacity with a smaller number of staff was also a challenge. And Walker talked about we were the same while we were doing shifts of cohorts of staff working in the morning, evening, and some even through the night. It's amazing how some of the staff was happy to come through the night and work the night shifts. So which we used to our advantage when they were willing to do it. If we want to look externally, we were able to respond quickly by connecting with a large number of investigators, many of whom were already using CGEN for their research projects across Canada, right? And they were not only familiar with CGEN and our processes, but also had built a level of trust in our ability to deliver on research projects. So when we called upon them, they were very quick to engage and come and be partners. That also gave us the ability to play matchmaker role in bringing researchers with common interests together across the country, resulting in convergence of scientific minds. And I think that will have its implications way beyond the pandemic, where a lot of these researchers will continue to work together and on projects, more national and bigger projects. And then we were also able to connect with international partners in an effort to take part in the global response to pandemic and provide Canada with a seat at the international table when the response to global pandemic was discussed. So I believe that while lessons learned will allow for better preparedness in dealing with future outbreaks and pandemics, most importantly, CFI's support of national facilities to operate in a ready-to-go state is critical for Canadian science and the research community, allowing for the delivery of high-quality, rapid research outcomes and impact. So before I stop, I think I have a minute or so, Mark. So I would like to give you a quick peek at some of the early results and outcomes of our HostSeek project. We were able to connect with over 60 PIs across Canada and have enrolled around 22 of the PI studies into the HostSeek project. And you can see on the map the distribution of the individual PI and the studies that we engaged. We have already surpassed our required commitment of 10,000 participants, as you can see in the blue in the middle left-hand side. We have received blood for around 200 patients already, and we are either sequenced and looked at obtained the clinical data associated with it, or in the process in the pipeline of completing that analysis. But we are also receiving samples in hundreds on a daily basis. So what I'm trying to say is the project is going really well and has really picked up pace at this point now. I think I will stop here, Mark. Thank you for everybody's attention. And if there's any questions I can answer, one last thing is just acknowledging the support from all our funders and partners, CFI, Genome Canada, the institutions that host these nodes. They have a lot of input and support that they provide to these nodes and facilities, and also, of course, the other provincial partners and provincial funders. Thank you, Mark, and I'll stop here, and I think I will, try and figure out how to stop sharing.